Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, here we are after market close on Friday, November 12th. We're going to check in on Paysafe. So Paysafe, which I've been picking up the pace on covering because folks seem to really be interested in it. Obviously I cover SoFi a lot. That's in the fintech space as well. So, and I used to, if you hadn't seen in my previous videos, I was for quite a while running the wheel on BFT, which was the SPAC that brought Paysafe aboard. And so then when Paysafe came aboard, I was then wheeling that for a while as well. So I have some history, some familiarity, and obviously quite a catastrophic week here for Paysafe. So I wanted to check in and kind of see what we might be able to decipher from where we are at this point from a trend perspective. And we'll also check in on the data on Ortex here in a few minutes. But, really, I don't need to tell you how crazy that sell-off was. But I wanted to look at a couple things here. I haven't checked this out yet, but I want to see. So we look at this. I feel like there's sort of some play in here for these downtrend lines. Let me see. Sort of like an outlier there. See, it sort of catches these green candles with this red slip through, but that's not. It's not so terrible. In terms of sort of where it's getting caught there. So there's this kind of downtrend support, which is not what you want the support to be. Obviously, you want it to be uptrend support, but in a long-term downtrend, which is what Paysafe is overall in, not just from this crazy drop on earnings, but that's of course kind of just what you get. But you do see it's confirming this downtrend support several times, and then it just kind of happens to run into it again there, where it fell on earnings. Now we see there's almost this like secondary level of downtrend support here. I'd be kind of interested to see where some of that sorts out. I mean, most recently kind of coming in this way, right, which could start to show itself as downtrend resistance. So it's certainly not caught in a perfect channel, of course, but it sort of is caught between an ever increasing downtrend support and downtrend resistance pattern. So you see that the space is increasing between the two. So that's what I would start to look at for the time being. Obviously, we can get rid of this. These gaps are irrelevant at this point. I will still leave all of these support and resistance zones that we had charted in the past, just because, in the hopes that Paysafe will recover over some period of time. That's 712 and 748 and 829. These things will start to come into play again, and they will most likely still serve as support and resistance when it gets to it. Now, there's obviously not much to go off of here. We could chart the hopeful thing and just know that it probably won't be exactly this, because this is a brand new sort of trend line. It's hard to build a trend line off of two candles. It'd be like if a stock was just 2 days old and it IPO'd and then it was the next day and we're trying to build a trend line off it. It's like, okay, it probably won't be that, but you can see it could be. And so that's what we'll kind of do for the moment. And we'll also say, the best thing it can do obviously is come up and try to fill this gap. We'll put in a level here at 502. And if it can hold this uptrend support, we could sort of look at this like an ascending triangle pattern. That would then get into this potentially wedge type pattern. But if it can come to the ascending triangle, typically is a bullish formation, or considered to be bullish, though I have seen it turn against for sure. I've seen it turn against on Palantir. I've seen it turn against in the crypto space. So it can certainly fall to the downside as it goes in. But this would be the best case scenario, obviously. And again, not just because it's an ascending or an upward support trend, but because it could put in the flat top here, and then also gives it a chance to break out of this wedge, which I do think would offer some pretty strong resistance. So if it can get past that, I would almost think of that as it overcoming sort of a long-term resistance level, as like a starting point to clawing back some of the losses that it's obviously incurred, right? That said, it's good to talk about the gap fill, but I mean, look at this gap, for instance, and it didn't ever come up to fill this. Obviously, the hope there is that there's just not a lot of resistance because there wasn't any price activity in there, and so folks could be quite willing to come buy in. So to the extent to which that plays out, we'll just have to see, but that could help accelerate it through this flat top, through this downtrend resistance, and kind of go from there. I don't think at this point there's really much utility in looking at the indicators. Everything is going to look bearish, right? The EMAs, the MACD, I mean, bearish to a useless extent, right? There's no use in looking at that. So to me, nascent as they are, these are the trends that I would look at to try to see if it's going to be able to work its way through this or not. Well, it'll work its way through in some way, but it will be in a bullish direction or not is of course the question. It did a good job trying to recover. I mean, but you're looking at a over 41% drop in a day. I mean, it's just a lot. So coming up 6% today, that's a start. And as they say, stocks tend to take the stairs up and the elevator down. And that, unfortunately, is just the case that it is a lot of times. And this happens to be a challenging period for Paysafe. So we'll see what they can muster. But that's the chart as I see it for the time being. I'd be happy to come in and keep checking in to the extent that folks find it helpful. Now, I appreciate much of what Ortex does. I had to giggle when I pulled up this and saw no major news for Paysafe in the last 14 days. It's like, okay, that's definitely not the case. So I don't know what weird bug is happening there, but it gave me a little chuckle. You don't need to look at these things really, right? But we'll check out the short data. As you would expect, the shorts really coming in strong today with a little bit of a green day. Ortex is estimating that shorts came in to the tune of plus 142.27%. That said, they just brought the current short interest percentage of the free float up to 6.66%. So infusing additional weirdness into this entire situation, 6.66%. No, just kidding. But as you would expect, shorts coming to pile in to try to see if there's any more meat left on this bone. So not surprising, but we'll see what role they play. But at this point, that still is a relatively low percentage of the free float that's being shorted. I don't think that that in and of itself is going to put a lot of distorted selling pressure onto the stock. Utilization is quite low, but that just means that they could pile on quickly and heavily. Cost to borrow is negligible, so that means that shorts aren't really going to be super disincentivized to come in and short Paysafe because the cost to borrow is high. That's not there. But days to cover is still remaining quite low, 1.36 days to cover, down almost 34% from 7 days ago when it was up over 2 days to cover. So a bunch of shorts may have covered when the big drop happened and took their profits and then waited for an uptick, which we got today, and decided to come back in and, like I said, see if there was any meat left on that bone. But that's my suspicion there. We'll keep an eye on it to see if they come in to any greater degree in the future and sort of what that looks like if they do. All right, folks. I hope that aside from the Paysafe situation, if you got caught up in that, I hope that you had a solid trading week and that you have a relaxing weekend ahead. And I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.